Thank you, Maurice, for introducing me. Thank you, organizers, for having me here. Hello, everyone. Before I get started, let me give a quick rundown of how my talk will be structured. First of all, I am going to start with current analysis of migration outflows from Russia in 2022-2023, and then tell you a bit about today's Russian immigrants in Germany. As we are a large group of the people, it is quite hard to ask everyone, whatever you remember, where you were and what were you doing on the 24th of February. Let us do it another way around. Just raise the hands, those who do not remember where you were when the war broke out. Thank you. The same happened with me. This day, the 24th February of 2022, no one who grew up in Europe will be able to forget. This day catch me sitting in the library of Polish Academy of Science. They invited me to do research on immigrants from Tsarist and Soviet Russia. I was sitting in the library and were reading the memoirs of those who fled Tsarist and Soviet Russia. And I have a feeling of déjà vu that the history was repeating itself. After 100 years anniversary of October Revolution, we have again a new massive migration outflow from Russia. There are many scholars who are working with this topic, who do research on exodus from Russia, its specific, its classification, and etc. Oh, it's better I start with my presentation as well. Okay, according to my understanding, migration from Russia after the war broke out featured the following types. The first one, so-called ethnic repatriation. Honestly, this type of migration were and remain available only for a small group of people with ethnic, a small group of Russian citizens with different ethnic origins. For example, before Israeli-Gaza conflict, Israel approved accelerated entry procedure for Russians who want repatriated to so-called historical homeland. We have seen the same tendencies in German statistic. For example, so-called Spätaussiedler, ethnic Germans. The number of applications for repatriation to Germany grew up. It's like really, it's incomparable to the previous years. The same so-called ethnic repatriation happened in the countries of Central Asia and Caucasus. For example, immigrants, the Russian citizen of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan origin, they get interested to apply for their passports, albeit they have lost any connection and spent a couple of many years in Russia. There is also one more tendency. Probably it's not enough time to tell about this, but if you have time, just check the Russian migration statistic and naturalization statistic. You will be impressed. The Russian passport became really a toxic document. If you will check the 2022-2023 statistic, you will see that the really interest to get Russian passport decline. There is only two groups of nationals who still keep their interest in getting naturalized in Russia. It's nationals of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Okay, ethnic repatriation. Let me say that all newly independent states, how I call them, built on the ruin of Soviet Union, they are not able to become a long-time residency for majority of Russian. It will be true to say that having common historical and also cultural links with Russia, those countries were receptive to Russian nationals, to Russian immigrants of so-called first wave, those who left Russia after February. But he was less receptive to Russian nationals who left the country after so-called mobilization and later on. There are some more interesting tendencies or classification of migration outflows. For example, there are many exotic destinations, Arabic Emirates, people sailing to Korea, but there is a country, Mongolia. The country adopted a new law for Russians who fled the country. Mongolia adopted the new law and allowed Russian citizens coming to Mongolia to stay visa-free for 30 days and then extended their legal residency for an additional 30 days. It's really quite a special case, and I have not seen such regulation for Russian nationals in Mongolia for years. Okay, as of today's attitudes towards Russian migrants, I will say varied by country, and also very strong depends on professional qualification and educational background of those who come in to those countries. Let me add a couple of words about brain drain and business relocation. Whether we want to hear this or not, the brain drain takes place. There are, for example, if you will check a statistic according to this headhunters data in Uzbekistan, from February 2022 to January 2023, about 10,000 IT and engineer specialists of Russian nationality based in Russian search for job in Uzbekistan. The question whether they found this job or not, it's another one, but the number is really impressive. The second also issue, a lot of people who have had their businesses in Russia, they decided to vote with their feet and with their business to another countries. For example, over 15,000 companies have been registered in Kazakhstan in the 9 months, in the 10 months after the war broke out. Also, the number of legal entities registered by Russian nationals in Uzbekistan surpassed those of Chinese and Turkish nationals. And those two groups, they really were the leaders for previous years. In Turkey, we have observed that the number of companies registered or established by Russian grew up by 670%. The question, the people move not only themselves, they also move their knowledge and their money. Okay, now we come to more interesting point, what is happening within the EU. The attitude of the EU member states towards Russian migrants gradually tightened during 2022, despite the increase in numbers of asylum applicants, the Russian asylum applicants, seeking asylum, any type of international protection in the EU member states. In January 2023, migration authorities of all EU member states registered near 16,000 asylum applications from Russians. However, the success quota was very low. It was less than 30%. Honestly, Russia was never ranked at the first place among asylum applicants in the EU. Or it's better to say it was only once. In 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago, 2013, Russian nationals of Chechen origin ranked the first place in German national statistic. They really submitted mass asylum applications. But then German courts repeatedly say there are plenty of internal asylum opportunities within the EU and gave no asylum for Russian or less asylum, positive asylum decision for Russian of Chechen origin. And then the ratio really declined and fell near to zero. Okay, coming back point to the EU. I will say that there are three types of policy among EU member states towards Russian. There is the first one, how I call this humanitarian-oriented policy. I will say that Germany, Czech Republic, France, and Lithuania. If I have a colleague here with the legal background, you can ask me, Olga, what are you telling about? Lithuania adopted a special law to protect national interest in April 2023. It's true. Lithuania tightened regulation and measures towards Russia in April. However, this country remained issuing humanitarian visa for politicians, for people in need, for Russian at risk. Therefore, for my understanding, Lithuania belongs to the country with humanitarian-oriented policy towards Russia. There is a number of other countries. I will probably mention here Germany later on when I will speak about today's Russian immigrants in Germany. But there is a Czech Republic. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Czech Republic launched on their website information about special program. They have a quota for accepting Russian and Belarusian at risk and provided them humanitarian assistance. The only question, this program is for 500 people, for both Russians and Belarusians. We do not discuss the numbers. It's good that this program exists. Okay, Latvia, Netherlands, Poland, Estonia, some other Scandinavian countries take really a tough stance. Finland does not issue humanitarian visa for Russians, albeit allowed them to apply for asylum. Norway, which received about 300 asylum applications from Russian nationals, they announced they do not deal with this asylum application until the new regulation will be adopted, or a new procedure for asylum applications of Russian came in force. The Netherlands suspended the right to asylum for Russian nationals, albeit the kingdom allowed Russians to stay on their territory if they came early before the war broke out. Now we come to the next point about today Russia's immigrants in Germany. It's quite interesting to compare what happened 100 centuries ago and what is going on now with so-called Russian-speaking migrants, majority of whom hold Russian citizenship. Germany traditionally welcomed Russians, and however, I will say today's and past migration flows, they have a lot in common, but even more differences. Firstly, Russians coming to Germany the same as a century ago, they are still interested in Germany because this country gives them opportunity freely live and freely work. Secondly, German cities metropolis like Berlin, Hamburg, München became places, as we say, where migrants left Russia, meet another Russian migrants. And exactly as we learn from academic literature how the Berlin was called by Tsarist immigrants like, our flooding Moscow in Spree or in New Babylon, it's all those terms can apply to the modern situation as well. Okay, the small difference, all migrants who came to Berlin before the war broke out, they resided at quite, I will say, bourgeois district. There was like a Charlottenburg, it's called Little Russia. It's a lot of Jew migrants located there. It's nice cafe, restaurants, and etc. Those who came after the February 24, they have chosen some other districts where more cheaper apartments, and they do not reside in a very bourgeois and expensive districts of Berlin. There is also a big difference. And also we can say, like reading academic literature, that migration century ago was dominantly by male migrants, and the current migration inflows to Germany from Russia are females, has a woman face. Today's Russian immigrants in Germany may be divided into several groups. I will say that the people who came to us, to Germany, they are mostly workers from so-called NGO, political foundation, who was relocated by their employees. There are a lot of representatives of LGBTQ community who came to us. There are a number of labor and business migrants, and really small numbers of asylum seekers. I would glad to repeat here, Russians coming to Europe, they are not refugees. Yeah, really, they vote with their feet, they are forced migrants, but they are not refugees. It means that legally, if they want, they have the right to return to their country, and they can do this, except some groups who are under special procedure. In order to understand what are the demographic characteristics of the people who came to us, we launched online questionnaire, and it was over 131 person who replies, and we also had 12 in-depth interviews to understand what kind of people those who left Russia and came to Germany. I will say, as I told, today's migration from Russia to Germany has female face. There are a lot of women. Secondly, most of them are really well educated. If you will check the profile of the respondents, it was like, we created a list of languages what Russian people coming to Germany are able to speak. It was like quite different. Near all of them fluently in English, French. We have also some speaking fluently Mandarin, Tatar language, and etc. Albeit, I should add, there are less of people who are fluently in German, and that will be the reason I will get back later to this point. Just keep it in mind that there are less of them German speakers. Quite interesting what I should to add, those people think that they left Russia for the rest of their life. Near every fourth respondent think that this is for a long time period, and some of them are really hard to define for what duration this immigration will last. There is a mental health problem with near every second respondents we spoke. They have support from family members, from friends. Some of them are called for special psychological support and assistance. It means that, again, we back to the sentence, never mix up tourism and immigration. It's two different things. And a quite important thing which I would like to add, that those people, it's near every second respondent told to us, we able to understand that sympathy, empathy of Europeans reserves for Ukrainians, it's quite understandable, it's quite okay. But what is about us? And probably it's exactly the statement which is for my today presentation. The people who vote with their feet, the Russians who left Russia, their destiny remain unclear because no one knows what happened with them. As I told, not many of them expected to stay in Germany for long time because they have lack of financial assistance, they do not speak German, and they're searching for any opportunity in English-speaking countries. And some of them, for any personal reasons, they have their own family, also divorced. They have children from the first marriage or whatever else. They have their cats and dogs. It was also very often in our questionnaire. I have a cat and I didn't know how how it's going with him. And so many personal circumstances, many of them will return to Russia. I think that's all, and thank you for your interest. Well, I welcome your questions, comments, and any suggestion. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Olga. Very interesting presentation. And do you have any questions from the audience, please? If not, then I will ask, what do you think? Because the title of our panel here is Social Cohesion and State Security. So all those new Russians who come to different countries, not only to Germany that you mentioned, but Uzbekistan and so on, Finland, Latvia, Estonia. What do you think? What kind of impact does it have or will have in the near future or in the longer future for the state security of those countries?
Okay, it depends what kind of lens do you have. I can understand the country like Baltic states, due to historical background, that the lens of security is like the main lens. As a lawyer, a human rights defender who spent a couple of years working for international organization, I think the right to asylum is really human right, and it's everyone's right. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be European country, it's back to the first presentation about what kind of values do we have. Then we should presume that the right of asylum is to everyone. And I'm so sure that Estonian, Lithuanian, and Latvian intelligence services are smart enough to differentiate the people who came in here and searched for asylum and those who came with another purpose. If they do not, then they should improve their competences. I will answer like this. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much.